Okay guys, so I'm down here in my basement. I know it's not the most glamorous workspace, but we make do. I have less than 2 hours before I'm leaving for Boston, and I need to get this thing in a serviceable condition. So I'm gonna try to do that, and if I fail, then I guess I'm gonna have to shoot with something else. I don't know. Let's see if it's possible.
Spoiler alert, dude, that's not possible. But here it is in all its mediocrity, the Kodak 35 RF. This particular example was gifted to me by my uncle a number of years ago and has been waiting to be brought back to life ever since. The main issue that's plaguing the camera is an extremely stiff focus throw, and as I'll come to find out, a seized shutter. I begin the process by immediately starting to make mistakes by removing these two set screws that hold the housing onto the front lens group. In the process, I also destroyed one of the two screw heads, but that's okay, I'm sure the camera will survive just fine without it. I then continue to fumble around in my attempt to remove the front of the lens to relubricate it before giving up to complete more completely unnecessary tasks, such as removing the cotton yarn light seals that apparently never really need to be replaced. Did I mention that in my haste to get this done, I did absolutely zero research as to how to properly service a Kodak 35 rangefinder? Well, if it's not already abundantly clear, it certainly will be later. I continue by removing more of the flathead screws that hold the top cover of the camera on because somehow that's going to give me access to the front lens group.
Wait, was it really just that? It just fucking... okay. Wow. Wow, that looks terrible.
It does not affect the shooting.
Yeah, this thing is not doing too good.
Wow, who could have ever predicted such a failure? But before long, I was back at it once again, this time with a new problem to solve. The center lens group is seized harder than my ability to get on a regular posting schedule. I'll drill 2 holes in the rim to allow for a spanner to be slotted in to get more leverage to remove the piece. Though my precision machining was successful, my removal of the center lens group was not. This thing was insanely stuck in place. I just couldn't get enough leverage on it. Even after heating it up with a hairdryer, it just would not budge. Eventually I had a bad enough slip with the spanner that I knew it was time to give up on this method of removal and seek the assistance of a professional. Luckily, I know a guy. So I drew up some plans and took a ride down to my cameraman's machine shop to have him mill me out a tool on his 3-axis CNC. It's a very simple design, essentially just a round puck that interfaces with the pinholes and allows a standard socket wrench or combination wrench to be used to remove the lens group. The resulting tool is a little bit crude. He was still learning to use the machine at the time, but it will certainly get the job done. Even with the custom tool, it took a significant amount of force to remove the center group. And if I recall correctly, I vaguely remember my uncle telling me that the camera had been serviced at one point in the past, which leads me to believe that it was actually cross-threaded, because during the reassembly process, it did not want to thread in straight. With the center lens group removed, I can finally get in to service the shutter and aperture blades. Or can I? With the clock running out, I began frantically removing components of the shutter mechanism, only to be faced with the reality that I once again would not be getting the camera done in time. Okay, quick rant mode, guys. So it is currently midnight, and I'm going into New York City tomorrow. I wanted to use this camera for this video. And once again, we are faced with annoying issues that we can't resolve in a straightforward way. So I removed all of the shutter mechanism components, and of course, there's no way to access the shutter blades from the front of the camera. So, okay, fine. How do we get at them from the back? Well,
there's a retaining ring on the back of the lens. It's going to be really hard to see, but I will try to show you. So it's kind of like how a large format lens, you know, is screwed down onto a lens board, which would be fine, except you can't actually get to it with a regular set of spanners because you can't clear the film gate. So what I've taken to doing, which kind of is working, is I found that I can jam a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver in, and sort of like leverage it off. I don't know how I'm going to be able to like actually get it tightened back on again, but I guess that's just another problem we're going to have to solve when we get there.
With the shutter finally removed from the front of the camera, a false sense of hope was restored to me. So I decided to stay up as late as it would take to get the camera in a completed state. Now, unfortunately, because I was a little bit pressed for time, I did the lazy thing and I just set my camera to top-down mode on my bench and just went to town on the shutter. So this is all the footage I have from servicing the shutter and the aperture blades, which would have maybe been one of the more valuable things to get good footage of, but here we are. So I have a lot of people ask me how I remember where things go. And you'll notice here that I do actually take photos, but a lot of the time the photos that I take are at an angle where I can't see where like the one specific component goes that I need to know where it goes. So situations like that just make you get good at remembering and or figuring out how things fit back together. I did ultimately get the shutter properly working again, but it was all for nothing because I didn't have enough time to reassemble the rest of the camera. So back in the bag you go, little guy. At this point, I was planning on banishing this camera to the shadow realm, and by that I mean the bin that sits in the corner of my basement.
Well, I didn't think I'd be back on this so soon, but here we are.
Yeah, so I guess I got bored or something because for whatever reason I decided to work on this camera again. I once again find myself in a last-minute situation. Hopefully third time's the charm. We're gonna try and get her done tonight. I guess I was trying to bring this camera down to Florida with me last time I was there, which would have been a terrible idea, but I guess not necessarily any worse than the other attempts I made with it. And as we can see, problems still persist, as the shutter does not function properly when attached to the camera body for some reason. Here's the shutter unit. Crazy how it just like works when I remove it from the camera. But as soon as okay. Alright, so the shutter is all good. It's this bullshit right here. So basically what this is it's like a mechanism that couples the shutter to the advance. But you don't really need this, I guess, to get this camera to work. You just need you just have to cock it manually and then not over advance. I don't know what I'm taking apart at this point. We're just gonna keep doing it. This one's giving me trouble. Hello? Come on, you bugger. Is this cross thread? Well, I finally got the last screw out, but something flew out from underneath here and hit me in the face and then fell onto the floor, so odds are I find it very low. Is this broken? Yeah, remember how I said you could decouple the film advance from the shutter mechanism? I should have done that. Remember that for later. In the meantime, I'll keep lubricating and reassembling pieces while continuing to believe that everything's working properly. There's like a thing that catches, like a pin that catches. You gotta press this down, then it lets the film advance spin. So we're
Can't move. Can't move. Now it can move. So the film is turning. As that's happening, the teeth catch and cocks the shutter and then resets.
With the parts cleaned and lubricated, we can now begin final assembly. And would you believe it? The shutter is now working properly. Well, it's been a long road, but we can finally relubricate the lens, which is funny because at the start of this project, I thought it was the only task for the project. I honestly couldn't tell you where the optimism comes from, but it's definitely misguided because I gave up when it came time to calibrate the rangefinder. Okay, so I'm back down here at the bench. It's been about 8 months, give or take, since I worked on the Kodak. I think the only things left are the rangefinder, adjusting the rangefinder, and the light seals. So fingers crossed that's all that needs to get done. But considering the fact that I left it for 8 months, who knows? It could be something catastrophic that I needed to fix. I don't remember. So let's figure it out and get it done because I need to shoot with it on Saturday. At this point, the number of repair attempts is getting a little excessive, and as you can probably tell, my time management skills are a bit lacking. Perhaps I can fix that with a class from the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an all-in-one learning community where you can pick up new skills ranging from productivity to creativity and more. Skillshare makes it easy to track progress and save your classes, so you can jump in and out at any time and learn at your own pace. Classes are taught by industry experts with valuable tips for both beginner and advanced members. In the past, I've successfully used Skillshare to expand my knowledge in graphic design with techniques I still use to this day. So I'm interested to see what I'll learn from this class on productivity and organization by Ali Abdal. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare to get started today. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Well, somewhere along the way we lost one of the rangefinder mirrors, but it should be an easy enough fix with my least favorite kind of glue. That is, assuming I don't have to re-glue it 4 times. And I had to re-glue it 4 times. The mirror's now looking a little worse for wear, which surprisingly doesn't seem to matter. With the follower and its respective cover in place, we can now begin this tedious process of calibrating the rangefinder. This involves adjusting the 2 screws back and forth until everything lines up properly and focus is achieved at infinity. This isn't typically possible to do in a basement unless you have an enormous basement, so I'll have to go outside. Alright, so I'm outside trying to calibrate the rangefinder for the Kodak, and I finally got the mirrors aligned. The problem I'm running into now is A, it's raining, and it gets dark at like 5 o'clock, so I have very limited time to do this. And for whatever reason, the infinity focus seems to be off. So from here, where I'm standing on my deck, to that tree in the back of the yard, that should be infinity, but it's reading out on the focusing scale of the lens to be about 30 feet, which would be somewhere in the center of the yard. So the close focus is accurate, but the infinity focus is off, which actually kind of makes sense because as you get further away in focus on the focusing scale, the interval becomes greater. So the margin for error increases, which is kind of the opposite of what you would think, but I think that's how it works.
Who needs weather sealing anyway?
Well, I ran out of light, and I also ran out of the correct thickness of light seal foam. So I'm gonna have to use what I have and hope that it's adequate enough to block out the light from the back. with just a few more parts to replace, we're nearly done. I completed the final reassembly process, ready to take on the city. Surely, the Kodak would be unstoppable. Just ignore these extra parts.
Yeah. Mr. Late. We're definitely not getting the 839.
What are you guys shooting today?
Nikon.
Secret.
Secret!
What's in it though?
Secret.
Oh, he won't even tell me his film stock.
Bro's as confident on my driveway as I am. Didn't make it. Doubters win. Did you just get dripped on?
You did.
Why are you tweaking?
I was tweaking because I forgot to get a straw, so now I'm gonna have to go get a straw.
Are you just drink it from the cup?
I need a straw.
You guys are the one that's down.
Yeah, I'm going to.
The walk of shame.
I didn't have time to finish calibrating the rangefinder, so I'm gonna have to do it now on the train. I brought the only tools I need, if I could get them. Pause.
Tell us your harrowing bathroom story.
Well, okay, first of all, I was thinking about that from last time, but then I realized I can't reference anything from last time we were here because no one's seen any of that footage yet. From like,
Will
they will eventually, but it'll be like time travel. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I never had time to finish calibrating the rangefinder for this because it gets dark out at like 4:45, and yeah, when you get home from work and it's just like nighttime, you can't really do it. The cool thing about this camera is that you can basically tear the whole thing down with a single precision flathead. So I should be able to do this while we're sitting here on the train. I think we have like an hour or so, and I should be able to calibrate infinity hopefully in that time frame so that we can get to shooting with this device. Yeah, I brought two. Alright, it's time for mobile repair. I didn't think about this part of it. Just throw them in this used Dunkin' Donuts.
No Harbor Freight screw tray.
No, I don't have the Pittsburgh. I meant to bring gaff tape because I really don't trust the light seals that I put in here because I didn't have thick enough. I ran out of like the thicker millimeter light seal foam. Why did I tighten this so much? If I drop anything, it's gone forever. Probably. Okay, so the way the light meter gets calibrated, there are two screws. This one raises and lowers the mirror, like the secondary split mirror, and then this one is supposedly for calibrating the rangefinder, like in terms of focus. In reality, you kind of, it seems like you kind of have to move both of them to get everything like kind of lined up properly. I don't know. I don't have really any experience working on rangefinders, so I kind of don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just figuring it out as I go along. It goes 50 and then infinity, so it's like, but this will get me in the ballpark at least. So to the edge of this chair right here,
That's like
this is set
4
to
or 5 feet.
This is set to like under 4.
I'd call it 3 or 4.
This would maybe be 3.5.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know realistically how accurate you can even get this thing. I just don't know quite enough about rangefinders. I think I've probably gotten it close enough to get images in focus, but the reality is I'm probably going to be shooting it mostly between f5.6 and f11. So as long as I'm within, you know, like a ballpark of focus, it should be okay. Yeah, I just don't really see myself shooting this super close. So as long as the infinity is you know, relatively accurate, it should be fine, I think. I'm just gonna hope for the best. And then the other maybe potential issue is, well, after you're done adjusting, you're supposed to glue this screw back down so that it doesn't, you know, it can't loosen up. It's probably not going to be a problem. So when I get home, I'll glue it up. I definitely won't open this thing back up again to do it, but yeah, we're just going to roll with it. So, it's reassembly time.
He's so hungry.
Yum, yum, yum. It just like left it dirty. I cleaned the essential components, okay? I cleaned the aperture and shutter blades.
So it's like a half of a C and no L. And
No,
when you're
there's-
done,
there's-
you'll A it.
No, there's some L. There's a lot of L.
What, from the donut juice?
No, that's more of an A. I'm gonna have to remember like how many shots I've taken because the frame counter is not useful. Alright, last piece.
Little like a bar.
Real. Done. Train repair. I've seen it now for the first time on YouTube. Alright, let's see what this thing can do. You can stop recording now. E100, 160, which is like, for some reason, unobtainium in 35mm, but it's the cheapest in 120. So if you open up the back of the Kodak 35 RF, you'll see that it specifically says you're only allowed to use Kodak 135 film. So we got Ektachrome, which I paid like $30 for, which is like Alright, so one of the problems with these cameras that I've read online is that the way the camera advances the film is through this knob right here, and this piece, like the sprocket guide, actually primes the shutter, but it's really stiff. So like you can prime it by hand, but it's like quite stiff, and when these aren't lubricated, when the whole mechanism isn't lubricated properly and it's not functioning properly, it'll just tear the sprocket holes. And I really don't want that to happen on a $30 roll of film.
You don't sound overly optimistic.
I don't know. We're gonna see how this goes. I also just don't know if, like, I have my doubts about the rangefinder too, so we'll see. Oh, and then also the light seals. So it's like pretty much everything about this.
Oh, do you want to get gaff tape here?
I could, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna bother. Yeah, I have no idea how to. Maybe I have to like push it in like crazy.
Yeah, you don't just stick it in there and start cranking.
Oh no, that's okay. So it does go in here tighter, but you have to like really push it in. Once I get it on both of these, I'll feel better about it.
You could just waste a few frames too if you need to.
Shutter primed? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna trust it now that it's on. I mean, this is spinning. I guess it's ready to go. Alright. Fingers crossed. That's not confidence inspiring at all. Should I trust these Bakelite strap lugs?
Pewter.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm expecting it to just
I
fall
haven't
right there.
I haven't taken a single photo yet with this $30 roll of Ectochrome. Okay. First shot. Done. Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Ankommen Sie nicht bei Gebäuden war das.
dude. Oh, you're good. I'm not actually taking a photo. I can't really tell if this is all going to be in the viewfinder, but because the viewfinder on this kind of sucks. I really want to capture the motion of that.
You're not taking pictures.
Huh?
Did you not take one of this?
No.
This is so slide. He goes again on his phone instead of taking pictures.
Shut up. That might be really cool. Maybe. Or terrible. You be the judge. This could be good coming up. After that, that's it. I'm committing to this. Oh.
What? Just no sound. Just hauling ass through here.
Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, you've been bamboozled. I didn't take any of the photos that you've seen so far, and you'll understand why very shortly. These were taken by my friend Mac on his Leica CL. I'll put his Instagram on screen if you want to check out more of his work.
Corky?
Yeah, I killed it. Somehow the shutter's like jammed. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, if I could sit down, I could probably like with it and try and get it to
Alright, let's cross the street then.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Basically, there's no way for me to get this working without rewinding the film, is the problem. So, I guess I got at least half a roll-ish out of it. I just don't like see a way to do this without rewinding the film. That sucks. I mean, I'm not really surprised that something like this happened. There was I think I showed it earlier in the footage when I was preparing this, but there was a broken tooth on the gear that connects the winding mechanism to the shutter. And my guess is that something's happened where it slipped off and it's no longer taking up properly. They're no longer coupled properly. So I just don't think that there's... Unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it a loss at this point in terms of the rest of the film. And I'm just going to have to rewind what I have and develop that so that I have something. Because there's just nothing else really for me to do here. So, rip on this. So this has to come out. I mean, it was taking photos, I think. So now it should be fully rewound, I guess. Hopefully. And then, yeah, I mean, it's in there. So.
What's that?
Oh.
It ripped off.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Wow. That sucks. Even worse than what I thought. Yeah, so there it is.
I think you're kind of crazy for opening that, but
I do too. I would not have opened it. That's weird.
I definitely could have saved some of this too by like not just letting it be out in the open. That is such a bad design. That is such a bad camera design. It's almost unbelievable, but it makes a lot of sense that
They don't make them anymore.
that Kodak went bankrupt multiple times when they were making stuff like this. Yeah, that's crazy actually. I don't know why I'm surprised because
this camera's been nothing but trouble for you.
well, it's been nothing but trouble for one, and I also knew that was like a potential problem that could happen. I just thought that because I had serviced the camera and this was spinning freely, that I wouldn't cause any real issues with the.
What might have happened is that you were advancing it while like holding this by accident or something, touching it.
Yeah, it's
tiny bit of
possible.
resistance.
It's possible for sure. Okay, so what am I gonna do now? Let me first see if this camera is even like if the shutter's fine, which it should be in theory, and it is. So the shutter's all good. All my shots from so far, it's now 3:30. We only really have 1 hour left to shoot. I really want to like show something from this camera, but I really don't want to now commit to shooting an entire roll at this point with it. What a day. It was, it's funny. I was really enjoying myself today. Can't have shit. When I'm filming, when I'm recording, can't have shit. Dude, they're stealing my con. What is that? Are you serious? It just happened again. Okay, well at least they can see what I was gonna shoot. So I was gonna take a nice photo of that. The light, look at that lighting right there, framed perfectly in those buildings over there. Oh man. So anyway, yeah, it just, the shutter is being primed, and then I just hear, and then of the fucking film just like unspooling off the end of the thing. That's the end of this thing for today. We're done with this. So I think it's such a huge bummer too, because if that had happened before and I had realized what had happened, I would have been a lot happier with those shots from earlier being like the shots of the day type thing. Yeah, I am permanently done with this camera. I'm not shooting this thing again. It's over. It's f***ing over.
I think you're insane for 2 times in a row bringing this untested camera to New York instead of just like testing it out locally.
Well, I didn't. No.
And just like
this was the first time
hoping it would work.
This is the first time I brought it out for shooting.
Yeah, but you wanted to bring it last time.
Actually, there were 3 different trips that I was trying to bring it on.
Okay.
All right, well, plot twist. It didn't tear the film. I came in here today to the dark room to get this thing developed, or whatever shots had been taken. I figured that it was going to be torn like the other roll, and that I would just spool up the rest and shoot the rest of it another time. But here we are, and somehow the camera didn't tear the film. I have no idea what happened. It definitely felt like it slipped. Maybe it came off the take-up, but as I was rewinding it, the frame counter was spinning. So I have no idea. I want to see images from this camera. So we have bulk spooled HP5, and I'm just gonna spool off like 12 frames. I'm gonna go out and shoot it. Alright, well, the camera did the thing again. I don't know what's wrong with it. Actually, I think I do. I'm pretty sure the problem is something to do with that broken tooth. It's messing things up somehow, putting more tension on the film. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with that. Wish I could have done more. I'll be happy if I get anything at all. I just want to see what the lens looks like. So yeah, by now you'll know if any of those frames turned out at all. And that's gonna spell the end of the Kodak 35 rangefinder, because I don't think I'm gonna be revisiting this camera. Sometimes I think it's best that some of this old gear looks cool on a shelf, and that's kind of the best place for it. So yeah, anyway, sometimes these things happen when you're out on the photo grind. Things don't always work out. You got to be able to roll with it, like me, your daring host. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, because one of these days I might make a video where I actually get some photos. But until next time.